So next slide is around basically talking about ISO and kind of where it came from. So just a piece of trivia there. It's derived from the word isos, meaning equal. They've been around for many years. They've got over 160 member countries, and that's one membership per country. They're the leader in standardization, and it's not governmental. It bridges everything across the private and public sectors. And there's currently, and then I think there's even now more than 18,000 standards supported because they're adding more every year. So why are standards important? Well, they help us to define things like the quality, safety, reliability, economic viability. It's also about being responsible to the greater good. So if you've got standards and you're showing compliance to standards, what that means, I think, to the rest of the world is that you're taking your responsibilities seriously. So analogy that I use is years ago when I used to do a lot of travel to Asia. And I can remember going into Tokyo in particular and riding a bus from the airport into Shibuya where I was doing my work. And I rode by, in the bus, we rode by a series of shops that were lined up from one end to the other. And you could tell at either end of these shops were two different businesses that were selling bicycles for both new and also old and used and repair of bicycles. Now, I don't read kanji very well, but I did see there was some English on the signs. And it was easy to tell that they were both in competing businesses. At one end was what looked like a pretty rigorous organization that was doing bicycle sales and repair. And at the other end, pretty much the same thing, except at the far end, the second one, there was one thing that was very clear in English, and it said ISO 9001 compliant. Now, what that meant to me as I was going by and comparing these two shops, and they look very similar, was that the one that had ISO 9000 on the sign meant that they had taken the time and the energy to go through the rigor. So if I were looking for a bicycle or I had a bicycle that I wanted to get repaired, I would lean towards that second one because that tells me that they have invested in their reliability and their quality and their safety, things like that. So that's where I think a standard is something that is a differentiator in a marketplace. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's advantageous.